Hello again. It's now 10 past, so I think we're going to start. We are missing, sadly, one of the presenters, Juan Pablo. Oh, you're here. Excellent. No, then we're not missing any of the presenters. So what we're going to do, this session is going to work a little bit differently because it's about water. And as you may know, our very loyal founder partner, Grower, are all about water. They're all about the experience of using water in domestic circumstances. And they've always taken an interest in how we deal with water at WAF. And part of that interest is in sponsoring a prize for a proposal about using water. And we've judged that both with WAF people and people from Grower. And I'm delighted to say we've got two of their most senior designers here, Patrick Speck and Antoine Besser-Desor, forgive my pronunciation, who are sitting in the front row. And they are both senior designers with Litzel, the parent company of Grower, and they work across the various Litzel brands, which include American Standard as well as Grower. They're calibrated into different categories. Grower, I think, is the most exclusive of the standards. And we look at proposals and we decide which one would be the most receptive to have some money to develop the research. And they can talk about this later, but that's why this is different, because we're not just celebrating the WAFX winners for water, but we're also celebrating the Water Prize. So we're going to go through all the water prize winners, including the research prize winner, in this order. We'll start with Christina from the University of Stuttgart, who I saw a moment ago, here she is. And she's going to talk about her PhD research into hydro skin. Then we will move on to Cowbod Studio with a project called Dying for Light. And then we'll have Juan Pablo Lopez. You are Juan Pablo rather than Sebastian. Sebastian's here. So they work together. They've done well at WAF before in water categories, if I remember correctly. And they're going to talk about their proposal for river parks in Colombia. And then finally, we will hear from Misak Terzibazian again, who won the research prize with a fascinating project about which he'll tell us. So I think if we can go straight on to Christina and then move through in that order. Thank you.
Oh, okay, now. Thank you for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christina. I'm an architectural researcher at the University of Stuttgart in Germany and founder of Hydroskin. I warmly thank you for our product being awarded in the water category. And it is a great pleasure for me introducing to you our way of thinking the building facades new with Hydroskin, universally applicable textile skin that provides rainwater harvesting and time-delayed evaporative cooling for the building and its environment to mitigate urban heat and inundation exposure. Even though our cities only cover 1% of our land surfaces, the urban heat island effect accounts for at least 11 to 16% of global warming, reaching up to 30% in regions such as China. Building facades represent the largest urban surface area and do have a significant impact on the urban microclimate. And Singapore might be a perfect example of a city suffering greatly from heat, with an average temperature of 29 degrees for the hottest and 26 degrees for the coldest months in year, whereas the green and wetlands in the north indicate, in comparison to the dense city center, a surface temperature reduction of up to 15 Kelvin that can mainly be referred to the natural cooling effect by water evaporation. While natural surfaces allow for a 60% evaporation of incoming rainwater, built surfaces require 90% to be drained off as runoff water into the urban sewage system, which causes the second big scale problem we are facing worldwide: inundations that affect all cities with a high ratio of sealed surfaces. This picture shows the consequences of the so-called flood of the century that we had in Europe, July 2021, with 45 billion euro of economic losses and 180 deaths only in Germany. With the increasing densification of our cities and the rising precipitation rates due to climate change, the update of our urban sewage infrastructure is still missing. In this context, let me add that the sewage system of only Germany is about 15 times the equator length. So, in other words, redimensioning the global sewage infrastructure of all these vulnerable cities worldwide would be an almost impossible economic burden for our world and not solve the heat island problem worldwide either. But also, there's a huge potential in the facade of increasingly tall buildings, not only in terms of an aesthetical design revaluation, but also in terms of an ecological activation to reduce the urban climate footprint without occupying any further ground surfaces in our cities. And that's exactly where we come up with Hydroskin as an artificial, lightweight retention surface in the building facade to absorb the wind-driven rainwater that hits the building facade at an angle, to make this water accessible inside the building in order to reduce fresh water and energy consumption, as well as to humidify the textile skin on hot days for cooling the building and its environment in a sustainable way by evaporation. So now you might ask, why are they using textiles in the building envelope, which are certainly a traditional, even if not a quite conventional building material? Well, it is not only about lightweight construction in order to reduce the building embedded mass, grey energy and CO2 emissions to a minimum of 1 kilo per square meter, whilst offering a highly customizable building envelope solution enabling the installation of Hydroskin to almost all new and existing building types. But whilst conventional hard facade surfaces, as glass in this case, reflect incoming rainwater droplets with a great splash off, the textile outer layer of Hydroskin offers such a high permeation that allows the water droplets to almost fall through. So Hydroskin consists of a translucent, multi-layered textile and film-based facade design comprising an outer layer. You have just seen a special spacer layer and a foil, and integrating an additional highly absorbent intermediate layer to extend its cooling performance. For example, in very hot and dry regions may result in an opaque system design. All these layers are joined together by means of textile manufacturing techniques to an easy to disassemble system, which is not only fully recyclable, but can also be made out of recycled materials such as PET bottles. Let's have a more detailed look on how it works. Well, the wind-driven raindrops are split by the water-permeable outer layer and transported via the connecting threads of the spacer layer to the water-guiding foil, where they are drained off into the lower profile system. And during irrigation on hot days, the droplets accumulate in this spacer fabric, and the high air circulation in this open porous spacer textile favors water evaporation and enhances the cooling performance of the facade. Many years ago already, they made use of evaporative cooling by water-filled ceramic pots, a very simple cooling technology that doesn't need any further energy supply, excluding the manpower in this case, since evaporation is nothing less than the phase transition of water from its liquid state to the gaseous state at temperatures below the boiling point, which extracts heat energy from the surrounding air that causes the cooling effect. And also our skin uses this technology, of course. So what they didn't know, textiles open up a unique potential for evaporative cooling, because with a minimum weight per unit area, they provide an enormous surface area that can even be precisely configured. And wetting of textiles is accompanied not only by a significant temperature reduction on the one hand, but also by a cool air downflow into the urban space when applied at tall building facades, as you can see on the right-hand side. And as a benefit for height, tall buildings even enhance the cooling performance of hydroskin in terms of rainwater absorption as well as in terms of evaporative cooling performance. Whereas in theory, the roof surface of this small exemplary high-rise building is only exposed to approximately 16,000 liters of rain per year, a more than 17 times greater amount of 290,000 liters impacts the facade surface of the building, and the volume of air that can evaporatively be cooled by 10 Kelvin also increases with the building height by nearly 2 times and is even able to approximately compensate the solar heat emission of a conventional glass facade. In other words, each square meter hydroskin could almost neutralize 1 square meter of conventional building facades in our cities. And since almost 1 year, the first hydroskin prototypes have been installed at this small exemplary high-rise building at the University of Stuttgart to verify their performance for the first time under real weather conditions with great results. Our measurements show a temperature reduction of 15 up to 20 Kelvin temperature reduction on the facade surface depending on the ambient climate conditions, of course, since evaporative cooling also represents a self-regulating cooling principle, which means that its performance can achieve a very high temperature reduction on hot days, but a very low cooling effect on cold days, thereby also excluding any undesirable cooling out of the building on rainy winter days. Even in disadvantageous wind conditions, more than half of the precipitation water has been absorbed, and by means of an intelligent rainwater use concept, one can obtain up to 46% of fresh water savings in a residential building when using rainwater for plant irrigation, toilet flushing, wash machine operation, or building service components. And depending on the water use concept, also up to 26% of energy consumption can be achieved for water pump and cooling purposes, especially above a low-rise building typology. For high-rise buildings and above, there's even an annual saving potential of 3 million kilowatt hours per building. So how do we bring this huge potential into the building practice? Now that the first hydroskin prototypes have been monitored for more than 1 year, we are planning to complete 2 hydroskin facades at our experimental high-rise building in Stuttgart within the next months. Among them, 1 unitized glass facade with suspended hydroskin curtain wall elements, and 1 multi-layer and film-based facade system without any conventional building materials, consisting solely of foils, membranes, and textiles. Our first commercial project will be realized also in spring next year. It's the nest building of the Swiss Federal Laboratories for Materials Science and Technology in Switzerland, where the easy retrofitability of hydroskin is going to be demonstrated. Finally, I don't want to leave you with this idea of hydroskin being a unique white curtain that might only disturb the view out of your window, since there is a great wealth of design variations in the field of textile architecture by means of translucent colored, 3D shaped, movable elements, as well, of course, as the opportunity of a precise customization by printing the textiles and foils. I also warmly invite you to physically discover hydroskin by your own. And when our body suffers from fever, we cool it down with damp cloth. So why do we not use the same technology to cool down our cities suffering from global warming? Thank you very much for your attention. I'm very happy to hear your questions and feedback. Thanks.
Can we move straight on? Come on, parties again.
Hello again from Calvo Design Studio. I'm Paradise and I'm here to present you another project. It's called Digging for Light. Can you imagine a house designed in a contemporary manner that follows the same principles as ancient architecture? Of course, these principles must be updated, but in fact, with minor changes, they can meet our fast-paced technological life. And here we use architecture as a problem-solving tool based on our ancient architecture from Iran. Let's begin with the site. The UNESCO registered World Heritage, the ancient city of Yazd, described as the noble city of Yazd by Marco Polo, and its nearby villages are great examples of Iranian traditional architecture. This city is located amidst the most desolated parts of the Iranian plateau, which stands primarily on a barren settled land. Plain with a desertic climate solely based on its architecture, it has turned into one of the cradles of ancient civilization. Through our in-depth research, we found that the winning element of the ancient architecture of Iran is based on its resiliency that have been managed to turn into a plugged-in system. However, due to the climate of Yazd and its specificness, as it has a desertic climate, its architecture and urban planning follows certain principles to bring comfort to people. Now, the question is, how these principles can be used as a reference in today's architecture. Amidst our research, we found that qanat plays a game-changing role in this resilient system, where each element is connected or plugged into each other through qanat infrastructure. As you can see, these are qanat systems from deserts of Iran. We use this approach to define our own project and our own plugin system made responsible and responsive to the harsh climate of Yazd. To quickly explain what qanat is, we can say that it's made of a series of underground water canals that still function in arid regions. And to this day, they supply water for close by human civilizations. It taps underground mountain water, and through a series of gently sloping tunnels, which often are several kilometers long, provide water for irrigation and domestic use. Now, getting back to our project and narrowing down to the exact location of our site and the place we have chosen to propose our project. The historical and semi-abandoned village of Ernan is where we chose for our site and proposed our project. We were trying to add value to these surroundings, whether to its untouched nature, man-made elements, or even the nearby human society. As you can see, these are the desert of Iran, and our Ernan city and village is exactly located amidst it. This amazing site is located close to a mount where human tracks from 12,000 years ago have been discovered, like these petroglyphs from the prehistoric era of ancient Iran. Also, neighboring our site, there is a seasonal lake which unfortunately only a trace of it remains today. Lots of dried qanat that used to work with this seasonal lake, and numerous villages that need proper public, medical, and educational facilities. These natural landmarks are completed with the mesmerizing Ernan Castle, which gives us a stunning conclusion of how amazing and potential this location is. This is the Ernan Castle, and this is the Mount Ernan that I just told you about. Qanaat's landscape, earth, ancient building techniques, and historic references gradually formed our ideas. We did not want it only to make a house in the middle of an abandoned place. We wanted to use architecture to solve the existing challenges. So we established a triad programs. And besides the house, we designed a school and a massive water reservoir to give something to the community. These are the triad programs. Besides the house, we also added school and a water reservoir. As you see, the home takes its orientation from the ancient castle, and it's sunken underground with the rest of the composition to minimize the thermal exchange between inside and out. With this solution, we also try to push the brick further by using another ancient Iranian architectural element known as badgir, or the wind catcher. We achieved an air circulation system that is entirely green and effective with this approach. The interiors of this house is illuminated by both direct and indirect light. Natural light enters from the domes and the glass pool functioning as a skylight. They differ from each other in form, size, and position that create different atmosphere at any time of the day. The desert breeze also blows on surface of the thin layer of pool water on the outside and creates wavy pattern illuminating the house central yard beneath, as you can see the last photo. The central yard also houses fireflies, creating a habitat beneficial to humans as they address the biodiversity of the Iranian deserts. On the other hand, the indirect light comes from the small alleys lit by domed skylights. These are the domed skylights that is sunken underground and provide light. Speaking of alleys, yes, alleys were the source of inspiration for our projects. Their arcs also gave us another ancient architecture from Iran, which is called ravaq, or small alleys. They create shade and thermal comfort and rhythmic play of light and shadow for inside the pathway of the school. This is our school. This pathway is sunken underground, but it doesn't have any roofing. But as you can see, these arcs provide shade and minimize the thermal exchange. And finally, to follow our primary goal and add value to the site's amazing surroundings, we designed a water reservoir. Connected with existing qanaats, it serves to the community and provides water for nearby farms. Besides its function, the form of this water storage also takes note from ancient Iranian architecture and is designed based on the old water reservoir of Iran, also known as Ab-Anbar. To complete this composition, we added a monumental element to function as a wind catcher. As you see, the domed shape is our water reservoir, and also the monumental triangle shape is the badgir. The wind catcher, or the badgir, provides ventilation of the project. It works with openings, and when the warm breeze of the desert blows into the openings, and also the badgir, it passes through water ponds that reduce the temperature drastically. The wind also continues to flow into the narrow and long corridors, providing a net zero air circulation. Finally, a pathway connects these triad programs, the house, the school, and the water reservoir, and reinterprets the qanaat system with its domed skylight. As shown in this section, the entire project is made of a pathway that connects this triad system. It creates a human-made settlement that pays tribute to the historic site and its impressive natural surroundings by reusing and remodeling the old techniques and achieving a sustainable way of living in harmony with nature. Now, please take a look at this animation, if it plays. Thank you.
Thank you. And now can we go straight on to Juan Pablo?
Okay, thank you everybody. First of all, I will apologize for my English, long time without speaking, so I will try to do my best. So this story started in 2012. We are located in Medellin. Medellin is the second biggest city of Colombia. We are something like 4 million inhabitants, and we are located in a really narrow valley. This is Medellin, and there's a river that crosses the city all alongside. So we started to study the main problems that cities around the world are facing it, you know. So as more the mostly cities around the world, we grew up in a very accelerated way from the 70s. So we passed to be 700,000 to 40 million people now in our metropolitan area. And our river was more like a scarf, you know. So we divided the city in two parts. The river is in the middle, and we built the highways and all the public services besides the river. So we divided the river, and we grew getting back to the river actually. So we launched in 2012 a program, a very strategical program for planning, for the territory planning, that it seems to be like a public space beside the river, but actually it was a full program with territory planning, occupation modeling, transit, urban transit development, because in the 70s we channeled the river, so we lost all the natural behavior from this, and we, as I told you before, we developed the city into the slopes, and we are more like a canyon, as you see. So we also developed the riverbanks with informal assessment. The waste were really strong. So we launched this project, and now we are seeing next the results. But we are now passed from the municipality government to the provincial government. You know, Antioquia is the biggest province in Colombia, and Medellin is the main city of Antioquia. And Antioquia is full of water resources. We have the three biggest river from Colombia. The river crossed Antioquia, and we have Medellin in the middle, in the center of Antioquia. That is the right map that you see on the screen. And we have this kind of river. along our municipalities. We have 125 municipalities. The biggest one is Medellin, but we have another 124 in all different scales, in all different weather, in all different location. And we see this kind of things. For instance, this is a main river of Colombia, and we have something like 10 or 12 municipalities besides this river. And for instance, this population, their economic incomes provide from the river, such as fishing or mining include. And we started to degrade our urban cities, urban municipalities in informal assessments, and there are very new municipalities, urban areas. For instance, this city, Apartado, is the biggest one near to the Caribbean region in Antioquia. The city just has 40 years, and we have almost 200,000 people now. So we took the program that we developed in Medellin, and we get to the Antioquia in order to find the proper scale for all the territories in our Medellin river banks, Antioquia river parks. So we started to study the same, we discovered that we had the same problems in our territories, such as urban assessment, informal assets means we hide the rivers, we discharge a lot of waste in rivers, we had a lot of increase in levels because the climate crisis, and we started to think in our public space, waterfront public space projects, such as part of the big program, and develop some strategies, some guide in order to develop projects in every municipality of Colombia. Mostly of municipalities of Antioquia are surrounded by water, are growing beside the waterfront, river or sea. So we needed a big umbrella for the government, a strategy. So we declared a climate crisis plan in order to put the problems, the programs, the indicator, and the actions. And one of the actions was develop the Antioquia municipality river parks. And we convinced the mayors of the municipalities and we invited to take this project and apply for their territories so we can create and launch 23 projects in 23 different municipalities. Some of them are already built, some of them are under construction, some of them are designed in master plans or in prototypes full designed, as you will see. So the main message is that we take a solution, a full program in a big city such as Medellin that was presented, this project was presented in WAF before 2018, and we be awarded also with the Water Prize. And it seems to be a waterfront public space, but actually it's a full program with urban development, transportation, environmental restoration, actually safety, city safety. And we take all of the best practices, all of the quality around the public space, and we bring to the other municipalities. So you can see, for instance, the Apartado, the municipality that I told you before, is something like 200,000 people now. So the urban development changed the logic of the river path. You know, this is not the natural river path. The urbanization changed, modified the the river path. So we are trying to restoring the relationship with municipality with the river in the beginning with a master plan, but you can see the red cycles. So we already constructing the prototypes full of design. There are another scale of municipalities. This is a 10,000 inhabitants municipality, and we need to create something like a sponge park in order to mitigate the floods on the municipality. So another examples, as we told you before, we developed the project or the program in 23 municipalities of Antioquia. And we create from the government an architect prime team in order to supervise and guide the municipality governments to realize it, to constructing, and for sure to success with this project. Thank you very much.